Join us, the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast, on a journey where we delve into the heart of the matters that truly make a difference. Our mission is to create a platform where we can openly discuss topics that often go unnoticed or unexplored. We aim to shed light on these crucial issues and have meaningful conversations. We invite you to tune into our podcast, where we will explore the depths of these subjects and let our hearts guide the conversation. Together, we can create a space where everyone's voice is heard and where we can collectively work towards a better future. Welcome. You guys, he already got me laughing. I didn't even welcome you guys. Welcome, everyone, to the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. It's your host, Nia Imani, and I'm going to be nice because I'm introducing him, which you already know him. He's my little brother, so I kind of have to roll my eyes. But anyway, I'm going to introduce my little brother, Nafees Norris. Hi, brother. Thank you for joining us.
What's going on, big sister? How are you today?
I'm okay. Other than you annoying me, I'm good.
Yes, I'm so excited. I finally got my invite to your show, which I'll be watching, by the way.
For those who are watching, for those who are listening via audio, I'm rolling my eyes right now. But if you're watching on YouTube, and you understand when your little brother gets on your nerves, you have to be nice because mom and family told you to. But yes, you understand what I'm saying. So a lot of y'all have heard his name or have seen his face. Where you be at? You be on 6ABC, Fox 29, Philly Tribune, so y'all know him. But for the people who are just getting to know my little brother, I'm going to read his bio, and you're going to see why I guess he's so amazing. Can I read your bio, brother?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just saying here, like, who's she talking about?
Father, everybody, my little brother, Nafees Norris, is a trailblazing African-American cell culture scientist. Let's run this back. He is a cell culture scientist, entrepreneur, and educator dedicated to advancing diversity in STEM fields. In 2021, he became the first African-American to obtain a degree in biopharmaceutical process engineering. Yeah, y'all. Okay. Yeah, y'all. As the CEO and founder of Nafees Innovations, a nonprofit organization, he combines his expertise in bioprocessing to inspire the next generation through innovative workshops and accessible education. With a focus of increasing diversity in STEM and creating opportunities for the underrepresented youth, Nafees is deeply committed to community impact, offering mentorship and career development opportunities through his nonprofit Norris STEM Network. Guided by a humble approach to leadership, he strives to make science accessible and relatable to all. As you sip your cup, he's so annoying, y'all. Anyway, a recipient of Newman University Distinguished Alumni Award, Nafees continues to lead with vision, excellence, and a passion for empowering communities in science and innovation. Brother, although you're annoying, this is heavy.
I'm not gonna lie, this is the nicest thing that you said to me all year. Probably in the last 2 years.
That's because I didn't write it. It's your bio. You wrote it.
Oh, snap. That's right.
Yeah.
So you had to be nice. Oh, boy.
For real, tell everybody, what made you even want to become a scientist? I mean, you're from Philly. I don't know a lot of Philly scientists. I don't know a lot of Philly Black male scientists. What's up? Why'd you want to be a scientist?
All right. It was 2 pivotal points in my life. I think I was around like 7, anywhere between the ages of like 7 and 9, right? And we were like studying plants in school and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I remember I cut my finger on a plant, right? And but I kind of wanted to do my outside studies outside the classroom. So I was in an empty parking lot down the street. And I was just trying to like look at plants. I was really looking at a bunch of weeds and cut down, chopped up trees and all that other stuff. So I thought I was doing something, but I really wasn't doing anything. So I cut my finger on a plant. And when most kids like cut themselves, like, I'm still looking at like, let me back up. Once, you cut yourself, especially as a kid, like you run home and like you tell your mom, you try to get a band-aid and all that stuff. No, I just sat there and I stared at the blood for a minute.
As it's coming out your finger?
Yeah, because the questions was like, why is it red? Why is it this texture? Why does it look like this? Like, what's the smell of it? Stuff like that. Like I would like those questions right there just got me curious. And I'll say the second scenario was when I was 19. Um, I had a lot of financial struggle. Didn't go to college right away. Couldn't afford to. Didn't know what I was doing. Working at McDonald's. As a matter of fact, couldn't even find a job at that point. I got denied by Home Depot. Like Home Depot, Lowe's. Maybe I was filling out the job applications wrong or something. But I couldn't find a job to save my life. Like, and I remember vividly, I had a headache. And I remember I was like, yo, I'm looking for aspirin and I couldn't find any in the house. So I'm sitting there like, okay, um, let me like, try to find a couple dollars or something like that to go buy some aspirin. I didn't have a couple dollars. So I sat there the whole day with a headache and I said, one day I'm gonna make medicine that's affordable for everybody. And it was the curiosity and then the fact that I loved medicine and like all these naturopathic ways and just understanding the body and how things work. So it was those two pivotal moments where I was just like, this is end all be all. It's either this or like nothing.
Mm, that's deep. Was it hard for you in school? Um, in particular, maybe high school to college, like being in
Yup.
all those science classes and maybe the only Black person or Black male. Was that hard learning and your experience in it?
So high school, I kind of wasn't, it's seven between 18,
Mhm.
excuse me, 19, when I had that medicine theory of like, I'm gonna make medicine affordable for people. In my high school years, I was just really focused on track and field. And because I didn't see anybody that looked like me in the field, it was just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna run track and I'm gonna go pro. And I was kind of on pace to do so. And then, injuries started happening and all this other stuff. And so I had to start focusing more on my books because I was relying on my athletic ability so much. And I remember people don't know this part, so you're the first person I'm telling this.
Period.
So after my ninth grade year, I had a 1.2 GPA.
Okay.
Nobody knew that, right? I was failing like terribly. And then right after, that year, I remember a friend of mine, Jabri, he was the team captain of the track team. He saw my grades.
Mhm.
And he was like, he called me one night and he said, yo, go look outside. And I said, okay. I'm looking outside. He said, tell me what you see. And I'm like, I'm telling him what I'm seeing. And I'm really describing the hood to him.
Okay.
I see a guy sleeping on the street. I see this, I see dudes standing on the corner. He was like, do you want to stay there?
Mm.
And I was like, no. And then he was like, well, work your behind off then when you come back to school. And that was during the summer. And then he hung up. He didn't say behind neither. And there was some other explicitives in there, but I'm not gonna say that now.
We get
But,
it.
but so I ended up graduating with 3.1,
Awesome.
right, from high school. Then didn't go right away to college. That was like a little blur in the middle, which is a story in itself. But when I was in college, it was hard because I was 9 times out of 10 one of the only Black people in my class, especially Black male. Um, I didn't have a Black science teacher at all, and I struggled. Like people don't know, like, I failed 4 classes, all in the sciences, and I I wasn't a good exam taker. I had test anxiety, stuff like that, and I just remember. one teacher, Dr. Heron, he really pulled it out of me. And I love telling this story real quick. I love telling this story.
Yeah, this is your platform.
He had he was the first professor to ever fail me in college. And it was in chemistry, and I got a D. I missed it probably like by 2 points.
Mm.
And he told me, he said, I could have passed you, but you have more in you.
Mm.
And he looked at it as motivational, and I'm looking at it as like, bro, I'm gonna put my hands on you, man. Like, like, yo, what's up? So he ended up, the next semester, he started, pulling me in his office hours.
Mm.
And then he started making me do problems on the board, like redox reactions, balancing equations, stuff like that in chemistry. And he started making me do these problems, and then he would have me erase it and then do it again. I'm like, bro, first of all, is the answer right? Like, and he's like, you tell me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I need help with this. And he's like, here's the book. And I'm like, what's the point of your office hours if you ain't helping me?
I would have slapped him. What's going on?
And then he did this for like 2 months.
Wow.
Like 2 months. And then he finally, I finally started to like get C's on his exams.
Okay.
And then I got my first B. And then he says, you know why I did what I did? And I said, why? He says, because you run track. And I was like, okay. He says, every time you erase the board and I will make you do another problem, what happens is that's the equivalent of you going to track practice and running repeats of a workout.
Okay.
He said, if you got to do like 400-meter laps, he said, like, that's getting muscle memory. So I'm building muscle memory with chemistry.
Mm.
He said, also, another thing that I saw, he says, you're not confident in your answers. He said, you always have to ask, is it right? You're not confident. He said, when you go in industry one day, you have to be confident in presenting your work. And you have to explain why you got that answer. He said, you don't do that. And then he said, also, you keep asking me for resources when the resources are all around you.
Right.
He said, Ashi said, at the end of the day, your manager is not going to hold your hand. You know what I mean? And he taught me how to be a researcher. He taught me muscle memory. He taught me how to be confident in all of my answers. And I can say proudly, I may have not graduated magna cum laude, but I graduated thank you, Lordy. So I'm like, yo, I ended up going from, I think, like a 2.2 GPA to graduating with about I think a 2.8. Like I was proud of that 2.8. And in grad school, graduated 3.9. Holla at your boy.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm so annoyed. How did,
Uh-huh.
as the only, right? And how hard is that hard being the only? And how do you push through? Like you said, science was like, this is hard. How did you push through being the only and push through? Like anybody that's listening or watching, hey, Nafees, I'm currently the only in my class, and this is hard. Tell me how to push through. How did you push through?
Somebody asked me about that too. Like they were like, what type of pressure was that? They kept using the word pressure. Like, this must have been a lot of pressure on you and stuff like that. No, pressure is when you don't know where your next meal is coming from, or you don't know where you're going to live and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pressure to me.
Okay.
A lot of people, you know what I mean, they have their perspectives on that. But the way I saw it is, if I don't finish, then the kid that looks like me that wants to do something maybe close to what I do or this exactly, they have no blueprint. They have no inspiration to draw from. So I said, if I have to be the blueprint and go through all the hits and the bruises for the youth coming up behind me, then that's what it'll be. And then for me, it's just accepting the challenge of, okay, I may be the first, but I can't be the only. You know what I mean? And since I have graduated, there have been I think there's been 2 other Black men that have graduated from the program. One of them I actually recruited.
Awesome.
And there's also been 3 Black women that I actually personally graduated with.
Come on,
That I
man.
ended up helping recruit two of them. One of them came on a little bit after me, but um, yeah. So it's important not to be the only or the first, but to bring everybody along.
Yeah. What you said was deep though, because yeah, pressure. Like when you've been through some things, other tough things don't really measure.
Yeah, like that's why you're bullying. I'm like, yo, I I got thick skin. I've been through some things, been through some things.
Anyway, how did it feel graduating from college
Um,
in that degree that you received?
all right, so the way my graduations worked was I graduated twice on one weekend, right? Because of the whole COVID thing,
Okay.
they pushed my uh graduation back by a year.
Mhm.
And so I got my master's on a Thursday and I got my bachelor's on that Sunday. But I would say the coolest part was, I'm not gonna say what title they held at my undergrad, but they told me that I wasn't grad school material after looking at my grades. And I told them, bet. I think that's a Philly thing. I'm like, bet.
Right.
That can mean like so many different things, right? So I'm like, all right, bet. I just got up and I walked out of his office. There was no conversation to be made. If you tell me I can't jump 10 feet for some reason, I think in my mind, I'm going to jump 12 and I'm going to turn around and smile at you when I'm done.
I get it.
So, like, maybe that's petty, but it just gets me going. It's the fire that I need. Um, I don't get offended, I get motivated.
Mm.
So he told me I wasn't, grad school material. And I said, okay. So when I got my master's on that Thursday and I had to walk across the stage and shake his hand on that Sunday, I said, yeah, how you like that now? So that's what it was kind of like my right at your neck moment. You know what I mean? And I smiled so hard shaking it. Because it was so many people that told me I just wasn't cut out for this. It was like everywhere I went, every time I brought up science and stuff like that, they were just like, "Yo, we don't know." Like all the people that I looked to and stuff like that, they hear about your GPA, but I tell the kids even today that I talk to, I didn't have a 4.0 GPA. I didn't have even I did hardly had a 3 point anything in undergrad. I said I graduated at 2.8, but I had a 4.0 work ethic.
Ooh.
I said, if you put me in a class, like if I will outwork everybody, I will study hard, I will come back with material. It's just like work ethic was just like my name.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
That's a book title in itself. Write that
yeah,
down. That's your book title, and that was a sermon because it's so true. Because I'm not a good test taker. Like you, I hated science. I'm not a good test taker. So, like you said, like it's what you do in the classroom. Nobody. And then when you graduate or when you look for jobs, nobody says, "What was on?" What did you graduate with? Oh, they know you graduated.
yeah, like bro, like I said, thank you, Lord. I was just happy to get out of there, because usually I don't know if y'all know this, but college sometimes the way people say it, it sounds like a jail sentence. It's like, yo, how many years you got left? Oh, I got 3 years left. I'm like, dang, brother, like, ain't nobody excited to be at school. Like, I was just happy to be out the hood. I was like, yo, I'm cool.
That's that's true. That's now you got to sip your tea to that. You know what?
I'm out of it too.
But when you became the first Black person to obtain your biopharmaceutical process something and whatever. Okay. How did that feel? And did you know at that time you were the first?
When I got in, no. It was a thing of, so how all of this got out was they needed, because my program was so like specialized and it was unique, they the school's paper wanted to do an article on the program, and they said we need a very charismatic student to they talk about the school and the program, how they like it. So they called your boy to the office. I said, all right,
Because you were the
now.
only one left? Go ahead, finish the story.
Yeah, you know what? I got called out of class. I was just happy to get out of class. So I didn't care who they pick as long as it was me. But I remember I was sitting there, I was interviewing, and they were like, okay, like, blah, blah, blah. And it was me and another teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed a student and a teacher. And so we're talking, and they said, well, wait, how did you get in the program? And I told them the honest story of how I got in the program. And they were like, wait, you were living out your car and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And okay, we got to have a timeout. All right.
Living in your car?
Yeah. So my senior year of college, I was a little bit on hard times. And, as a dude, you just trying to make it on your own. You're not trying to really, go back to mom and pop and be like, yo, I messed up, blah, blah, blah. But fell on hard times. That same weekend, a girl I was dating for about 2 years had broke up with me. And that was just like the hardest weekend. So a lady by the name of Miss Carla Green, she called at 7 o'clock in the morning, and she said, she says, hey, can you come help me with this church play? I'm like, yo, like, I'm telling her, I'm like, yo, like, I don't care about none of that. And so she was like, I really feel like the Lord is telling for me to tell you to get here. I said, okay, cool. She prayed for 7 minutes. I go to the church where they're having the church. This is a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. at this point. And I run into an old pastor of mine, and he says, hey, you still doing the science thing? I said, yeah. I said, I'll graduate in May, hopefully. And he says, all right, cool. I got this guy I want you to meet. He's a PhD from Cornell. I ain't gonna lie. I looked, I was like, ain't no white brothers in the room. And he was like, no, because again, when you hear stuff like that, you don't think of like African American, you don't. And I'm just like, to see that, like a black man, somebody that looked like me in the field that I want to go to, it's like, whoa. And he has his doctorate. You know what I mean? And he called me up for a tour of the lab. And then after that, the tour turned into an interview. And he was like, you really got a lot of potential and stuff here and blah. I thought he was a regular scientist. Come to find out, he was actually the director of operations of the program. And I'm like, oh, snap. All right. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm about to graduate. Thank you, Lorde. And I don't think I got the grades to get in here. And he was like, no, it's not about that. He said, it's more so like your character and your work ethic. That's why I always tell young people, I said, your character will take you places that your talent cannot. I said, so because of like my kindness and everything that we read in the Bible that we supposed to be, hallelujah, it's the Lord's day. So because of that, I was able to get into grad school. And then fast forward into that interview, they called your boy out of class. It was this whole thing of, okay, they're getting all the backstory on that. And then they were like, wait, what? Let's dig into that. And they wrote the story, never posted it. It was on somebody's desk, and somebody from the Philadelphia Tribune was walking by, and they saw the story, and somebody from the Tribune hit me up on Twitter. And I was like, nah, this is a prank. I wasn't going to write back. Right. I was like, nah, they're lying. They wrote me on Twitter, and they got the interview set up with me and my teacher. And then they were like, yeah, he would be the first Black man to ever get this degree. And then I'm not thinking too much of it. I'm just like, okay, it's an interview, whatever. When they posted it, my life just took off from there. So news stations, magazines calling, and I'm like, oh snap, this is cool. Talking at schools, talking to kids, stuff like that.
So it was well received. Were you excited? Were you nervous?
No, I was like, I got in, but I gotta get out. I gotta finish. I gotta pass these classes. I was like, that was my mind, because it was just like, you know that viral video that everybody posted about, Kobe, God rest his soul, where he was up 2-0 in the finals, and he was like, job not finished. And they were like, well, like, you halfway there. He's like, job not finished. You celebrate at the end, not the middle. And I'm just like, all right, I'm just even kill. I'm just like, all right, let me just crack my jokes and pass these classes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And can you talk about this? You keep saying program that you were working. What program were you working on?
So it was a biopharmaceutical process engineering program, and it's not too many in the as a matter of fact, there's only 2 institutions that teach it. Right, the program was very new, and you have a lot of biopharma process engineers out in Europe, but not so much in America. So they brought the program from Europe over to here. So, and the thing I liked about it is, it wasn't your average school. They treated it like it was an actual industry position job, right? So we had meetings, we had presentations like you would at a job. We worked in teams like you would a job. We even took lunch breaks like as a team, like, you know what I mean? And it was just like, we even, like, the students had to come up with their own schedule.
Wow.
It was like, hey, we're all going to be here at 9:00. All right, cool. And then we're going to go in the lab. We're going to do this, that, and the third. And it was the most hands-on thing I've ever, and I learned so much better that way. Because again, your boy wasn't doing too good on them tests now. So I had to, I was about to say, I'm thinking about as a career in real estate or something now. I mean,
Can you break down what in the world is biopharmaceutical process engineer? What? Is that English? What is that?
all right. Yeah, I just, real quick, I hate when people make me repeat it, because I have to say, because it's like, what do you do? Biopharmaceutical process engineer. What you say?
Yes.
Biopharmaceutical process engineer.
You say that to be smart, because I know that's what you do, but break it down. I mean,
so to make it plain and simple, because I could go into the whole, like, detailed background.
Please don't.
But for the for the normal ear, I'll say, all the medicine that you see on TV and stuff like that. Like, you'll see, like, the Humira, the Keytruda, the medicine for HIV and AIDS and stuff like that. And for some reason, they're all at a cookout or family function, laughing and all this other stuff. And those prescription medicines are, it's a process, right? You have the chemical engineers that deal with the chemical side of everything and creation of the product. And then you have, your biomedical engineers and, all these types of engineers, but nobody ever talks about the process engineer, right? My job is to optimize the process of that drug. For example, one thing I read a few years ago, there's a disease called neuroblastoma, right? I believe it's a brain disease for, kids. And those kids have about a good like 7-9 months to live when they're diagnosed with that. So they did find, I believe, a cell and gene therapy therapeutic medicine that works, you know what I mean? But it takes about 7 to 9 months to make.
Mm.
So it's kind of like this kid has very little time to live, and at the same time, you have this drug that can possibly work, you know what I mean? But by the time something bad happens, this drug is now that. So it's kind of like my job is to engineer the process. So, okay, I have to think about what can work. Can I get this timing down from 9 months to, let's say, 6 or 5? You know what I mean? Okay, so maybe this part of the drug we can probably take out and put this, maybe these amino acids or vitamins and polyamines and stuff like that to make it work better. So my job is to make sure that this comes out fast, efficient, and safer for the patient, right? So I'm in the research and development side. So that takes a lot of trial and error. And I always say, like, a lot of scientists have protocols, but engineers, like, you have very few protocols, but your job is to literally create and engineer something that's never been done before.
Deep. That's deep. Because of you gonna put me out of job, which is good. You gonna figure out how to treat this cancer, all the various types. So this is awesome. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
shoot, I'll put myself out of job with that check coming in, retirement check. You know what I mean? What?
And then, so you didn't just stop there. You became the first, and you're loving it. But then you decided to give back and created Nafees Innovations. Tell us about that. Why did you create this?
So, um, I wanted to. 10 times out of 10, I was the only black man in the room in these meetings. And there were times where my ideas was kind of pushed to the side, or I would sit here, in a meeting and I'll go, "Hey, let's do A, B, and C," and I'm told no, right? And I'm just giving you the raw truth. Um, and then there were other times where somebody of a different ethnicity or somebody that was older than me would come with the same idea,
Hmm.
and they would say yes. And it's kind of like they would listen to the ideas. I was like, I don't have a voice in the room. So it became a thing of like, I don't see too many people that look like me. Right. So I said, if I'm not welcomed at your table, so let me build my own table and welcome the youth coming behind me. Because I always say, if you look at our world's greatest athletes,
Okay.
our Olympians, your favorite singer, your poet, whatever. If you look at them and you look at what age they started,
Okay.
it wasn't 18, it wasn't 25, it wasn't 30. They start very young. So I said, and then you think about another issue, not just diversity, but another issue is human error
Mm.
in our industry, right? There's not too many people that have, solid skill sets. You know what I mean? Of course, you have a good bucket of people that do, but there's a lot of human error, right? Because it's trial and error, it's science, you know what I mean? But I said, what if you can eliminate a lot of human error if you start with younger kids, right, that want to try science? So let me start teaching them young. And it was just trying to figure out what age group to start. And that's actually your fault. And people don't know that it's actually your fault because this is your first time hearing the story. So the reason why I picked my age group is because you called me one day and you said, uh, "Hey, brother, um, you're a terrible person, and I don't like your haircut, and your clothes don't fit." And then it's like, no, she ain't say that, y'all. But you told me, you said, hey, I think you should just come to this back to school drive and do like like just be a vendor. I'm like, man, I don't want to do that. And what you didn't know was at that time, I gave up on my business. I had wholeheartedly gave up on it. I didn't want to do it. I was pretty much like, you know, was going through some personal things. And I was just like, nah, I said, me working with kids, I said, nah, that's not going to happen. So I just pushed through it anyway, showed up, got a poster board printed out, did this little chemical reaction to the point where I was told people were showing up at the door and was like, hey, we heard about this little science experiment and my kid want to do it. And they sending these people up. And I'm like, I got the majority of the age group that I got was 7 to 11. And it was all little kids. And it was to the point where they kept coming back like, hey, can I do that thing again? I'm like, can you go wipe your nose first and put on these goggles, right? And then I remember I went home and I couldn't stop talking about it.
Really?
I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I think a month later, I just separated from corporate, and like it was literally a month and a half later, separated from corporate, looked for lab space for 6 weeks and ended up finding it, which is very hard to do in Philly. And I said, I'm gonna make these kids feel like they're in the actual lab and doing real science experiments. Went and bought lab coats, went and bought goggles for kids and stuff like that. And yeah, the rest was history.
You know what I just realized with the story of you being on hard times and the lady called and said come to church, and then you just telling the story of being in a bad place, but I'm like come to the back to school. God has been blessing your yeses, even when
Mm,
you didn't want to say yes. You know,
mm.
keep doing it. That's the only time I'm being nice to you, but keep doing it. What has the feedback been like with doing your workshops? I mean, what are the children saying? And what are their parents saying?
I will have kids. I'll start with the kids. I will actually. I'll start with the parents first because the kids are funny. They got a lot to say. The parents, they always come to me and be like, "Thank God you are doing this." First of all, it's somebody that looks like them that is teaching science, and the way that you teach it is so simple because the slogan is "We make STEM simple." Because these teachers will literally just go in and just be like, hey, this is cell culture metabolism, and the kid don't know what you're talking about.
And now I'm scared, and now I don't want to learn.
And it's just like you fussing at them, and it's just like, yo, like they don't learn it because I always say you have a lot of tellers and not a lot of teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's another.
said you can tell somebody how to drive a car, but unless you teach them how to drive a car, they won't get in the car. And I got to teach you how to put on the seatbelt. I got to teach you how to fix your mirrors. I got to teach you how to how to maneuver the stick. I got to teach you how to like don't press your foot on the gas too hard, stuff like that. Because what happens is these kids go too fast and then they crash, and then they don't want to do it no more. So I'm like, okay, bet. I said, let me come up with a class, like a type of workshop where my workshops are 2 hours. I only teach for about 15, 20 minutes.
Praise
I'm
them.
just, right. But the rest is all hands on. And here's the thing, I allow the kids to make the mistakes. Like, have fun, make them. This is science. I'll have parents like try to come in sometimes and they'll be like, hey, like, didn't he say, 10 milliliters and not 8? And I'll be like, no, no, no. I said, let them just do it. I said, because there have been times in my career where I have went against the protocol and it has worked. Hence, my job is to produce a better process.
Right.
So I'm like, let them figure it out. I'll say this: I never had a kid come to a workshop and didn't come back.
Mm.
They always, like, I've had kids in the middle of a workshop run out in the hallway and be like, "Hey, mom, pop, can you sign me up for the next one?" Like, literally, they will do that, and it's almost every week. And the kids, like, they are hilarious. It was one of my 7-year-old girls. She came up to me and she was like, two things. She was like, um, "Am I hired?" And I was like, "As a what?" And she was like, she was like, "As a scientist, am I hired?" And I said, "Absolutely, you are hired." And then 15 minutes later, she comes up to me. She was like, "Excuse me, but I'm the boss today." I
And
said, "You got it." I said, you got it. You're the boss today." That little girl, she literally told me what to do all yesterday. All yesterday. So I was just like, "You got it." But like, the kids, they love it because it's just always something for them to do. And it's like, at the end of the day, they feel like it's not enough time. And I hear the parents say, like, "Yo, our kid be up and ready to go, like it's like football practice or something." And I'm like, because they get here at 9 a.m. I've never really had a parent late. Honestly, I'm like, on a Saturday morning?
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? These kids show up, they ready to go, they ready to learn. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
And you mentor them too?
Yeah, for the most part, because Nafees Innovations isn't just about teaching science. It's about building character, right? For you to, just be an overall good person. Um, so I, like, for example, if you come in with a sibling, you're not allowed to work with your sibling. And for those who have been here, the siblings will walk in and be like, "All right, we got to separate. We know we can't work together." And it's the funniest thing, because I want you to get to know other people, because you can't work with people that you like all the time, right? Also, um, I force them to, like, communicate, right? So I'll give them a test like, "Hey, you guys got to come up with this type of solution," and et cetera, et cetera. And I will literally, at one point in the class, you will see me kind of stand off in the corner. And now, instead of them looking for me for help, they're talking to each other and they're working a problem out. And now it's just like, I even got these whiteboards in here where they can write down their stuff. You know what I mean? Okay, we did this before. Let's try this and stuff like that. And I will say, for my boys, um, it do get competitive in here. I encourage competition because biopharma is a competition. So there is some trash talk in here. Like, the kids are like, "Yo, bro, your filter for your purification or your cell culture." Like, I had a kid say that. He was like, "Your filter for your cell culture product is not better than ours." And because look, you doing this, da da da. And I'm like, so
That
I go over, I'm like a young boy at this point. I go over now, hype it up. I'll be like, "Yo, youngin', he said your filter trash." I mean, I said, "Yo, they said they could do it better than y'all." And now it becomes this competition and they're working, but they're having fun at the same time. You know what I mean? It's a lot of laughter in here. It's a lot of jokes in here. And I'll say, for the most part, it's just overall fun, because if you have a teacher that makes science boring, then it's not the kid's fault, it's the teacher's fault. And the way that I teach it, if they don't leave learning something, I did a bad job. You know what I mean? And just like Denzel, they leave him with something. They leave him with something.
brother, do you sometimes think about your life? Like, I know you are on TV and magazines, you on Oprah, Good Morning America,
Lord.
29. Okay. But honestly, do you sometimes think about, like, I was once in this situation and look at me now?
There are very few times where I get to stop and smell the roses. And it was one night, and this is just me being vulnerable on your show, daggone. But I sat in this lab probably like a week or two ago, and I just like really teared up. I'm like, I'm a black dude with a lab. You know what I mean? Like, damn, I'm getting teary eyed thinking about it now. But I'm a black dude with a lab, and I get to teach kids. Like these kids, like I cry when I see the pictures sometimes. You know what I mean? I cry when a parent tags us in a post and stuff like that. Like that stuff, it means the world to me. So I do get a chance like to sit and smell the roses and just look at my life, and I'm just really like, yo, thank you, Lord. Because it's like all the stuff that could have happened, the times I was ready to quit, the times I was failing, times I almost lost my life, like, in this period. It was like it was nothing but the Lord Himself that was just like really guiding me through. And one of my favorite scriptures is Isaiah 43 verse 2. Um, it talks about, where there are deep waters, I will be with you. And when you walk through the fire of oppression, the flames will not overtake you. And I'm like, and then it goes on to say, for I've paid a ransom for your life, right? And it's like, yo, God really thought that much of me to put that scripture in that Bible, because when I was in those deep waters and I was under that fire, it was like He was there the entire time. And even the times where I didn't want to say yes, because when you called me to come to this back to school drive, I almost hung up.
You want to hung up on me, but go ahead, tell the story.
Or I just want to hung up on you and told you, yo, I ain't paid the bill, so that's why the phone cut off. But sorry, no. But for the most part, you know, that's how I kind of like stop and look at it. Like, yo, the Lord's been with me this entire time. It's never about like, oh, I did this and I did that and this, that, that. It was like, nah, the Lord got it this whole thing, because there's no way I saw all this happening, especially like this young.
How old are you?
I just turned the dirty 30.
30 years old, you're a scientist.
Turned the dirty 30. But
Okay,
I'm clean. I'm clean. I'm clean.
that's amazing. That's huge.
And then I'll say this much: a lot of parents kept asking. Well, a couple people, not parents, but a couple people asked, "Why'd you start your business so young?" I said, "Well, why not?" I said, "One, I said when you think of a scientist, you always think of an old dude with gray hair and a lab coat that's socially awkward, that can't, speak well, stuff like that. That probably has on a pair of khakis, Skechers. Not saying nothing wrong with Skechers, but you know what I mean, like, and a tucked in like shirt that's wrinkled and no hairline." And I'm like, no, I'll be honest with you. I said, I don't think there's a science teacher that can outdress me. One,
Ugh.
because of my swag. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I think in my own lane, I think, I carry a different swag. I'm young, and even a lot of the teenagers. I mean, like I was just in high school, what, like 12 years ago. I said, so it wasn't that long ago. You know what I mean? And they get to see a young person that's vibrant and stuff like that. Like, oh, wow, that's what the other side of this looks like. I'm like, so yeah, give them young people to look at, and young people to thrive at. They don't want to see the old dude no more. Yo, you can get here when I mean, like, come on, bro. Like, let's tighten up. We can do this.
You probably got khakis and Skechers on right now, so don't be coming for that. But we get your point.
First of all, you ain't have to yell at me like that. Second of all, I did own a pair of sketches once upon a time.
Exactly. So don't be coming for them. What is next for Nafees and Nafees Innovations? What's next? What are your goals?
So after going viral on TikTok,
Period.
Um, I'm typically one not to read the comments on social media. I'm not, but I have been reading them and looking at them and stuff like that. And I said, okay, I saw a couple things that I wanted to do. And so as of, I believe, March, we're aiming for March, late February, early March, we are putting out a YouTube channel.
Period.
The YouTube channel will consist of, and you're the first person. I didn't even put this on my page yet.
I'm your sister. What?
We yeah, that's just boy oh boy, sisters people. Um, so I'm launching a YouTube series where I'm breaking down simple scientific concepts and everything that they need to know. And the way that I teach it is whether if you're 8 or you're 88, you'll be able to understand, right? Because I don't think science is just for kids or for older people or even scientists. I think it's for everybody, right? Because science is all around you anyway. So I said, whatever Bill Nye was in his era, I said, I want to be that times seven, right? Because now, especially from my community, you get somebody that looks like them, somebody that talks like them. Because even people were like, the parents were so appreciative of, I say stuff like John and Yam saying, and my teaching and stuff like that. I said, that's how I talk, and that's how they talk. So they get me. You know what I mean? I told one of my high school students the other day, I was like, yo, like, what's good? You know what I mean? And he knew exactly what that meant. You know what I mean? So it was just like, um, so YouTube channel is coming. Um, a travel workshops are coming. There have been various cities that have reached out, places like Orlando, Houston, Dallas. I'm going off the top of my head here, Brooklyn, all of the DMV, LA, and even I'm supposed to be in London sometime next year. So they have all reached out, and I will be doing like travel pop up workshops. And I think the last thing is I'm coming out with a book. So didn't come up with a title for the book yet, but the book is awesome because it walks through the story of me being a kid and my interest in science. And in the book, the kids are learning about science also while getting encouraged. So, and it's my story, like it's the real true story. So, yeah, I think parents and kids will love it because I think we need to get back into book reading and off of TikTok a little bit.
That thing is to go in.
Yeah,
That is good.
good times, good stuff.
Where can we find you?
All right, so you can find me a couple places. Um, Anywhere but Broad Street because I'm trying to stay safe tonight since the Eagles won the NFC Championship. But I'm out. I'm inside, not out.
What is your website?
NafeesINO.com. That's NAF as in Frank, EES as in Sam, INO.com, where you can register for workshop. You can also donate, and donations work by you just sponsor a student. You can sponsor a student, which our workshops are very affordable. I tell people if you don't go to Starbucks for a week, you can afford me, um, because I understand how expensive these workshops can be, and I want to make them affordable for kids to be able to come in and learn. And I also understand that parents, the economy is trash, and I don't want to hurt their pockets. I said you're basically paying for their materials and their supplies and stuff like that. So you can go in there, register, donate. Um, Also, you can see the types of workshops that we'll have. Also, schools can also reach out. I do travel workshops, or your school can come to an actual lab facility, which is my facility here at CIC Philadelphia, which they've been so gracious to, bless me with this lab. And with that, yeah, schools can come, get workshops and stuff like that. And also, I do assemblies now. So I will be I'm also traveling on Thursdays to do assemblies. All you have to do is book and reach out. And if you want to see what Nafees Innovations really looks like, even behind the scenes, you can follow my personal page along with our business page, which is my personal page is Nafees Norris, um, which is NafeesNorris, and the business page Nafees Innovations. So you get to see what actually goes on in the workshop. You get to see the visuals and stuff like that. And when people see the visuals, they're like, "Oh, I want to send my kid up." You know what I mean? Because we're not corny out here.
You are, but the grand scheme is not.
No, we're not corny out here. We're not corny out here.
Can they also reach out to you to be the keynote speaker?
Absolutely. I do career days and speaking engagements and things like that. I actually got my first one. Actually, if you guys beat London to it, because I'll be there in 2026. But I also do keynote speaking. That'll just be via email, which you can find on the website. Which I'm very open to requests as long as they're booked, at least in a month in advance and stuff like that. Because I tell you, like the parents and the kids, they're sounding like my phone is going off every other 20 minutes. um, for people signing up for workshops and stuff like that, and also just getting partnerships, which I'm very excited to talk about soon, which I'll announce on our social media platform. Um, and also, I just want to bring this up. When you sign up for these workshops, typically we leave the element of surprise for the parents and kids to walk into. Like, okay, this is the type of workshop we're doing. We decided to do something a little bit more creative here. So February 1st, as of Black History Month, hallelujah. Well, my Black History Month started on Martin Luther King Day. But and that was the only thing I celebrated. But for that, yeah. Um so with that being said, we decided to do a Black History Month themed workshop series. We're doing stuff in series now. We are doing for example, one of our workshops we'll be working with peanut butter, hence George Washington Carver, and we're doing all Black History themed month, workshops. And for the month of March is very special. Tell the parents, if you don't like me, you're gonna love me after March, because we're doing a Is It Clean series, right? We're making sure we teach kids, sterile and clean techniques. We're doing like the science behind laundry. We're doing the science behind, different cleaning techniques. They'll be making their own disinfectants and testing them and stuff like that. They'll be making their own hand sanitizers and all that. And we're going like into the science of all of that stuff. So parents, if you find your kid, doing laundry and folding it up and all this other stuff and blah blah blah, just think your boy, you know what I mean? But yeah, so we're excited about that, and we just hope that you find us on social media. And even if you don't have kids and stuff like that, share with a friend, share with a loved one, and we also have sponsorships. So if you look at the price and say, "Hey, I can't afford it," like reach out to a brother. You know what I mean? Um, we're very a personable company here, and that's the way that I want it. And I tell my scientists that work with me is, let's have a Chick-fil-A mindset. More so of when they serve you, they say my pleasure. It is an honor to serve the community. So that's the mindset that it's not like, yo, you give us your bread and no, it don't work like that. No, it's an honor to serve you. It's an honor to come and teach y'all. And then for the parents to come back, it's like, yo, I be wanting to pay for y'all workshops. Like, yo, I be wanting to, I had a family drive all the way from New York I had a family drive all the way from Maryland. I have a family flying from Texas next month
Ah,
just to take the workshop. And I'm just like, yo, I said, I got to start providing some hot breakfasts for y'all up here or something like that. Cause y'all can't be, making a brother tear up like that, coming from across the way. But, yeah, so those are things that we're doing. And we hope that you find us and stuff like that. So, and again, if you don't see fit for yourself, or if your child just isn't interested, share with a friend, share with a family member, share with that coworker that you don't like on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You know what I mean? So, yeah, share with everybody.
I'm going to end with this. Out of all of your accomplishments and everything you've been through, brother, who do you say you are?
Who do I say I am? I would say I'm a growing disciple for Jesus. A lot of people would probably just relate me to a scientist and entrepreneur and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, none of this works without me getting on my knees and talking to the Lord every day, morning and night, and putting Jesus at the helm of this thing. And I will always boldly and proudly say that I'm a person that's grown in my discipleship, a person that's really leaning on the Lord and growing with the Lord. And again, there is no Nafees, there's no Nafees Innovations without the Lord Himself. So that's what I would want to be labeled as a man that's trying his very best to be a disciple for the Lord Jesus.
He said a sermon.
And y'all can cash up y'all offering two
You know what?
numbers.
I knew it was coming and I was praying.
I'm
Lord.
telling you, it can't be too serious now.
No, but it's so, although it pains me to give you a compliment because I feel like I'm about to throw up.
Yes. And it's being recorded. Yes. Sorry.
To take us to the cross. To go from here to here is beautiful. And for you to always reference Jesus is even more beautiful. And you are, not to say it has to be cool, but you're making it cool to love God, to say it boldly, and to work hard. Because I think people in this generation or younger want instant gratification, instant results.
Mm-hmm.
God may be not as cool anymore, or we say God, but not specifically Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things going on. So thank you for staying 10 toes down in what you believe and who you believe. And you're always giving thanks to the one who has brought you through.
Oh, that was the nicest thing you've ever said.
And it's going to be, I'm glad it's recorded because I'm not saying it again.
Wow. Wow. One day.
You guys,
Maybe at my wedding, like 15, 16 years from now.
don't give me the mic because it's not going to say something nice.
Lord
I'm
Jesus,
going to
help us.
embarrass you.
Lord Jesus, help us all.
On that
Yeah,
note, thank you guys for listening to the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. You have listened to my baby brother, Nafees Norris. And the last words you are going to hear me say is Nafees Innovations. Thank you for joining us on the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. Remember, each conversation brings us closer to a world where compassion thrives. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's keep the heartbeat of humanity alive. Subscribe, share, and be a part of our journey to make a difference, one conversation at a time. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your minds curious, be a blessing to others, and give agape love. God bless.